When the sun had not yet taken shape in the sky, when the ocean was still a dark mass shrouded in mist, the northern lands, what we now call Alaska, Greenland, or the boundless tundras, were nothing more than an endless, icy void. Frost stretched all the way to the horizon, the wind howled like the whispers of ancient spirits, and upon that snowy canvas, legend tells that the very first humans stepped forth from the heart of the frozen earth itself. The Inuit and Yupik called this land by many names, but they all believed the same truth: humanity did not come from some distant place, but was born from the ice, nourished by the breath of the northern winds and the heartbeat of the sea. In small villages, where the glow of whale oil lamps flickered through the long nights, elders would tell their children, "We were born of the ice. We are the children of snow and sea." When the snow melted into rivers, when the sea opened its heart, only then did humankind appear. Origin from the heart of ice. According to an ancient legend, at the very center of the frozen land stood an enormous block of ice called Kililugik, meaning the heart of ice. It shone brightly in the endless night, like a fallen star resting upon the earth. People believed that within that block of ice lay hidden the very first soul of humanity. When the moon, the goddess who watched over the sky, saw it, she shed a few silver tears. Those tears fell upon the ice, seeped deep within, and made it tremble. From its cracks emerged a figure, the first human, with hair as white as snow, eyes as deep and blue as the winter sea, and breath as warm as a rare flame upon the tundra. This being walked across the snow, and every footprint left behind a trickle of water. Those streams joined together, forming rivers that flowed into the sea. That is why the Inuit still say, the rivers are the memory of the footsteps of our ancestors. The first human was not alone for long. When the wind swept across the ice, melting snowflakes merged with his breath, and from it, another being was formed, the second human. Together they wandered through the desolate land, leaving the first traces of human life upon the frozen earth. The breath of the north wind. Another legend tells that humankind was born from the breath of the north wind Sila. In the Inuit tongue, Sila means more than just the air, it is spirit, the unseen soul that envelopes the world. When Sila blew through the icy mountains, its breath intertwined with the dancing lights of the aurora borealis. The green and violet radiance cascaded down, shimmering upon the snow-laden glaciers. Wherever the light touched, human forms began to take shape. They were not born from a mother's womb, but molded by wind and light. The wind gave them strength to endure the cold. The light bestowed upon them a soul to know love, fear, hope, and song. The Inuit have always believed that whenever the northern lights blaze across the sky, it is the dance of ancestral spirits, reminding their descendants. People of the land, people of the sea. In many other stories, the ancestors told that there were two branches of the first humans, one born of the land, the other of the sea. Those of the land were shaped from frozen earth and compressed snow. Their skin was pale, their bodies strong like stone, their strength like that of the great white bear. They belonged to the mountains, the tundra, and the endless fields of ice. Those of the sea were born from sea foam and the skin of the whale. They carried within them the salty breath of the ocean, skilled in fishing, able to dive deep like the seal. It was said that when the whale rose to breathe, it was the spirit of the sea reminding humankind that they and the ocean were siblings. The two branches met, joined flesh and blood, and from their union came new generations, the ancestors of the people of the frozen lands. Fire within the ice. One story tells that when the first human emerged from the ice, they were so cold that they could not move. Seeing this, the raven, regarded as the messenger of the gods, brought them a gift, fire. The raven flew from the distant south, where the sun offered warmth, carrying in its beak a glowing ember. It dropped the ember onto the snow, and from it, fire was born. Humanity learned to warm themselves, to cook fish and meat, to bring light that could drive away the darkness. Through fire, humans could endure upon the land of ice. That is why the Inuit still say, without the raven, we would only be lifeless ice. The encounter with the spirit beasts. In those early days, the people of the ice were still fragile. They needed guidance. And so the spirit beasts appeared. Nanook the great white bear, lord of the ice, taught them how to hunt seals and share the meat with the whole village, for only through sharing could life be sustained. Amarok the snow wolf, wanderer of the night, showed them how to move as a pack and never abandon one another in the storm. The bowhead whale, spirit of the ocean, taught them that every life taken from the sea must be repaid with respect and ceremony. Through the spirit beasts, humanity learned how to live in harmony with nature. And from that moment, they understood, they were not separate from the land of ice, they were part of it. The first trial. But the land of ice was never easy. After humankind was born, a blizzard descended. The sky grew dark for many months, the winds howled like screams. The first humans had to face their deepest fear, endless night. They trembled, they starved, they despaired. Yet from deep within the ice came a whisper, be patient. You were born of the ice. It is said that, on one dark night, the aurora appeared, blazing across the sky. Its light guided humankind to shelter, led them to the herds they could hunt, and taught them to rely on one another to survive. That was the first time people understood, they lived not only by fish and meat, but also by faith in their ancestors, in the spirit of the frozen land, and in each other. The oath of the ancestors. From those earliest days, the people of the ice made a vow. We shall never forget where we came from. We are the children of ice, of wind, of sea. When we die, our souls shall return to the aurora, to become the dancing lights in the sky. Thus, when a person passed away, they were often carried out into the snow, so that their spirit might ride the wind upward. The living believed that when they gazed upon the northern lights, they could see their grandparents, parents, brothers, and sisters smiling, dancing among the colors of the sky. The journey continues. The story of humankind's origin from the frozen land does not end with their birth. It is also the tale of how they learned to connect, to pass on wisdom, and to keep the fire of the soul burning. From those first footprints upon the snow, humans built villages, created rituals, and sang songs. They sang to call the whales, to summon the wind, to thank the spirit of the ice. Each song was not only music, but a thread binding past and present. In every taut drum beat, in every resonant melody, there was always the faith that, we are part of the land of ice, and the land of ice is part of us. When the first footprints sank deep into the snow, when the raven's fire blazed against the darkness, humanity of the frozen land began its long journey, a journey to endure, to preserve memory, and to affirm the sacred bond between themselves and the white world around them. The next chapters of this story speak not only of survival, but also of the rituals, the spiritual trials, and the transmission of culture from one generation to the next. The endless seasons of darkness. In the frozen land, the year was not divided into 4 clear seasons. In the far north, there was a season of endless night, stretching for months, and a season of unbroken day, when the sun never set. The first people had to learn to listen to the rhythms of the earth and sky in order to endure these changes. During the months of darkness, survival depended on what had been hunted in the time of light. Whale, seal, and salmon were stored, dried, and preserved in ice. Dried meat became the very soul of life. No one was allowed to be selfish, for if one person hoarded food, the entire village might starve. In those pitch-black nights, when the wind howled through the cracks of their shelters, people would gather around the glow of whale oil lamps. And in those moments, the voices of the elders would rise to tell the stories. The ancient legends. They told the old legends that humans did not live only to eat, but also to keep alive the memory of their ancestors. The Inuit believed that darkness was not the enemy. It was simply part of the great cycle, a place where souls could rest. Thus, in the long nights, stories became the sun of the spirit, keeping hearts warm. The power of song. Without written words, the ancestors of the frozen land preserved memory through song. Each song was a ritual, a map, a living book. The hunter sang before going to sea, asking the whale spirit for permission. The mother lulled her child with melodies telling of the origins of snow and ice. The elder sang to call the spirits of the ancestors to their side. Music here was not for entertainment, it was for survival. Without song, humans would lose their memory. Without memory, they would forget that they were born of the frozen earth. It was said that when the aurora danced across the sky, it was the invisible song of the ancestors' melodies that never faded, but continued to echo in the cold heavens. The whale calling ritual. Among the most sacred rites of the people of the ice was the ritual of calling the whale. The Inuit believed that whales were the siblings of humankind. Whenever one was hunted, a ceremony of gratitude was required. The hunter would place a portion of the whale's meat back into the sea, whispering a prayer. "Brother, we give thanks. Carry your spirit home to the ocean, and send us new life in return." If the ritual was not performed, they believed the sea would grow angry, storms would rise, and whales would vanish. Thus, the ritual was not merely faith, but a way for humans to learn respect for nature. Generations later, the story was still told again and again. We do not rule the sea, we only borrow from it in order to live. The trials of coming of age. In the frozen land, every child, upon reaching the age of maturity, had to face a trial in order to be recognized as an adult. Some were sent to hunt alone in a snowstorm. Others had to dive into the frigid sea to seek a seal. Still others had to confront their fear of the endless dark. It was believed that only by facing the land of ice could a person truly come of age. The elders often warned, "The frozen land is our mother. If you cannot endure the breath of your mother, you will never grow." Many stories tell of young ones who became lost, never to return. Yet the living did not weep, for they believed that such souls had become part of the aurora, a new spirit shining down upon the village. The whisper of the ice spirits. The frozen land was not merely a place to live, but a living being. The Inuit believed that within every block of ice, every wave, every gust of wind, there was a spirit. These spirits watched humanity and only aided those who showed respect. One story tells of a greedy hunter who killed more than he needed. That night, a blizzard arose, and he lost his way. Exhausted, he heard a whisper. "You have forgotten that we are one. You have taken too much, and you shall pay the price." By morning, they found him frozen in the snow, eyes wide open as if staring at something dreadful. From then on, people reminded each other, the ice can save, but it can also punish. Memory passed through blood. The ancestors believed that memory did not rest only in stories, but flowed within the blood. When a child was born, the spirit of an ancestor entered it. That child was never entirely new, but a continuation of countless generations. Thus, the people of the ice never felt alone. They carried the voices of their forebears within, and believed that when they sang, it was the ancestors singing with them. An Inuit mother would often whisper to her child, You are the flesh and blood of the frozen land. Within you flows the memory of 1,000 winters. Never forget that the light in your eyes is the aurora of your ancestors. When the dead become light. For the people of the frozen land, death was not an ending, but a return. When a person left this world, their soul rose with the wind and merged with the aurora. The living would gaze upward, seeing the green and violet lights blazing across the sky, and know their loved ones were there, watching. No one truly disappeared. All became light. It was this belief that allowed humanity to overcome their fear of death. For when they looked upon the aurora, they did not see only the sky, they saw their family, their community, living on in another form. The keeper of memory. In every village, there was an elder known as the keeper of memory. They did not merely tell stories, they guarded the rituals, reminding the people of where they had come from. The guardian of memory. The guardian of memory would often say, "If one day we forget our origins, we will vanish like ice beneath the sun. But if we remember, then even when the ice melts, our spirit will remain." It was thanks to them that the legends of the first ice, of the breath of the north wind, and of the raven's flame are still told to this very day. The prophecy of the melting ice. In the final stories, there is a prophecy. One day, the ice will melt. When that day comes, our descendants must journey far, seeking new lands. But no matter where they go, they will never lose their roots, for the memory of the ice flows within their very blood. It is believed that even when the great glaciers vanish, the aurora will remain. And the aurora will be the red thread, forever binding people to their ancestors, to the land that gave them life. Closing the legend. The origin of humankind from the land of ice is not merely a tale of creation, but an eternal reminder that humans can never be separated from nature. They are born from ice, nourished by the wind, illuminated by the aurora, and one day, they shall return to all that shaped them. Every footprint upon the snow is a mark of memory. Every song in the endless night is a continuation of the soul. And whenever the aurora blazes across the sky, it is the ancestors whispering. Do not forget, for you were born of the ice.